Deep inside the Amazon lies a world of secrets. Legends so bizarre and unexplained that even scientists are left scratching their heads. Are these just tribal myths? Or is the jungle hiding truths too terrifying to uncover? Today, we're diving into the most mysterious Amazon jungle legends ever told and separating fact from fantasy. The Amazon rainforest, a place of beauty, danger, and unending mystery. Stretching across 9 countries, this vast green ocean hides secrets older than time itself. From strange creatures said to guard forbidden lands to entire lost civilizations swallowed by the jungle, the Amazon has been the backdrop of legends for centuries. Some are stories passed down by tribes, others have left behind clues that can't be explained even today. What's real? What's myth? And what's still waiting to be discovered? Imagine standing at the edge of the Amazon rainforest centuries ago, staring into a wall of green so thick it seems almost alive. Every rustle of leaves, every distant call of a bird you cannot see, every splash from a river you cannot cross whispers the same thing. Danger. And yet, for centuries, explorers, soldiers, and adventurers risked everything to plunge headfirst into this unknown because of one promise, a promise of unimaginable wealth, of gold beyond human imagination, of a city hidden somewhere in this endless jungle. The city had a name that would haunt explorers for generations. El Dorado. The legend began with whispers from the native tribes themselves. The Spanish conquistadors who came to South America in the early 1500s were hungry for gold. They had already plundered the Inca and Aztec empires and were convinced there was more treasure waiting to be claimed. And then, somewhere in the dense Amazon basin, they heard tales of a man, not a place, but a man known as El Hombre Dorado, the Golden Man, according to the stories. This man was a tribal chief who would cover himself from head to toe in gold dust and then wash it off in a sacred lake as part of a ritual to honor the gods. To the Spanish, it sounded like a living god of gold himself, and where there is gold, there is a kingdom. As word spread, the story began to twist and grow with each retelling. Soon, El Dorado was no longer a man but an entire city made of gold. A paradise hidden somewhere in the uncharted wilderness, waiting for the bravest to find it. Can you imagine the fever in the hearts of these conquistadors? The jungles were filled with disease, deadly animals, and hostile tribes, but greed has a way of silencing fear. Expedition after expedition set off, certain they would return with riches beyond comprehension. Many never came back at all. One of the first and most famous quests was led by Gonzalo Pizarro in 1541, with hundreds of soldiers. Horses and slaves, he marched into the Amazon searching for this golden kingdom. What he found instead was starvation, swarms of insects, and endless miles of forest that seemed to stretch forever. Most of his men died from hunger or were picked off by diseases and hostile tribes. But even as his expedition crumbled, the legend of El Dorado only grew stronger. It seemed the jungle itself was guarding its secrets, giving nothing to those who came in greed. Later came Francisco de Orellana, who in 1542 became the first European to navigate the entire length of the Amazon River. He reported seeing advanced cities along its banks, with thousands of people living in organized societies, a claim dismissed by historians for centuries as fantasy until modern archaeology began uncovering evidence of ancient Amazonian civilizations. Could Orellana have seen the remnants of the real El Dorado? Or were these simply rich and thriving communities destroyed long before outsiders arrived? The mystery deepens because his records were lost for centuries, and even today no one truly knows what he saw out there in the green abyss. By the 1600s, the obsession with El Dorado had reached its peak. Sir Walter Raleigh, the English explorer, staked his reputation on finding the Golden City. He wrote glowing accounts of a land rich beyond measure, claiming he had proof of its existence. Yet, despite 2 major expeditions, Raleigh returned empty-handed, his dreams shattered, his son killed in the process. And still, the legend would not die. It seemed to have a life of its own, as if the jungle kept whispering to men's hearts, luring them deeper and deeper into its deadly embrace. Centuries passed, and explorers armed with modern equipment continued the search. Treasure hunters scoured maps, satellites scanned from above, and scientists dug through the earth, all hoping to uncover traces of a civilization dripping with gold. Some discoveries fueled the fire: mysterious ancient roads hidden beneath the canopy, massive geoglyphs carved into the earth, pottery shards in places no one thought humans could survive. Could these be clues to a lost empire erased by time, disease, or the jungle itself? Or was El Dorado nothing more than a story born from misunderstanding and greed, a myth that grew each time someone failed to find it? Even today, deep in the Amazon, there are still tribes untouched by modern civilization who speak of ancient cities swallowed by the forest, of golden temples and sacred lakes where no outsider dares to go. The lure of El Dorado remains alive in books, movies, and the minds of adventurers convinced that somewhere out there, beneath layers of vines and centuries of silence, lies a truth waiting to be uncovered. The Amazon has always been a place where reality and myth blur together, where the rustle of leaves in the dead of night can send chills through the bravest heart. Among its many legends, there is one story that stands apart, one that both fascinates and terrifies. For centuries, indigenous tribes have spoken of giants roaming the dense rainforest, men so tall they dwarfed ordinary warriors, with strength said to be beyond imagination. To outsiders, these stories were often dismissed as superstition or exaggerated folklore. But as explorers pushed deeper into the Amazon, they began to encounter strange clues suggesting there might be more to these legends than just campfire tales. Picture the first European expeditions venturing into the heart of the jungle. These men came seeking gold, territory, and glory, but what they found instead were stories that made their blood run cold. Tribal elders spoke of beings twice the size of ordinary men, covered in strange markings, some said to be protectors of sacred lands. Others described as violent and dangerous, capable of tearing a man apart with their bare hands. The tribes gave them names, spoke of encounters passed down through generations, and pointed to massive footprints found in riverbanks after heavy rains. Some explorers claimed they saw them with their own eyes. In the early 1500s, the Spanish chronicler Pedro Ciza de Leon wrote about natives in South America describing encounters with giant-like men, their height and size so unusual that the Spanish themselves were unsure what to believe. One account spoke of a tribe of giants defeated by the local people after a long and bloody conflict, leaving behind bones so large they could not belong to any ordinary human. These weren't isolated tales. Versions of them appeared again and again from different corners of the continent, especially in the depths of the Amazon where few outsiders dared to travel. The deeper explorers went, the stranger the stories became. Some tribes claimed the giants lived far from human settlements, deep within the mountains or hidden valleys where no one else could survive. Others believed they were cursed beings, remnants of an ancient race destroyed by the gods for their arrogance, left to wander the earth until the end of time. The descriptions were eerily consistent: towering height, immense strength, and a tendency to appear and disappear without warning, as though the jungle itself swallowed them whole. Then came reports of actual physical evidence. Throughout parts of South America, including areas bordering the Amazon, explorers and missionaries in the 16th and 17th centuries claimed to have seen enormous human bones. Some were supposedly taken back to Europe as proof, though most disappeared into private collections or were lost to time, leaving behind more questions than answers. In modern times, scientists have occasionally discovered oversized skeletal remains, though many turn out to be misidentified animal bones or archaeological anomalies. Still, the sheer volume of historical accounts makes you wonder, could all these people have been imagining the same thing? The legend of the giants gained new life when modern explorers began hearing fresh stories from remote tribes in the 20th century. Some indigenous people spoke of encounters in living memory, claiming to have seen massive human-like figures watching them from the tree line at dusk, vanishing before anyone could get close. Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, where the sunlight struggles to break through the thick canopy and the air hangs heavy with the sound of unseen creatures, there are legends that have terrified generations of tribes. They speak of giants whose tracks were far too big for any normal man, only to lose them as they disappeared into swamps or thick undergrowth. Anthropologists studying Amazonian folklore noticed something intriguing. The giants were often linked to sacred or forbidden places, areas where tribes warned outsiders not to go. In many stories, they were guardians, protecting something ancient and powerful hidden in the rainforest. What were they guarding? Lost cities? Sacred temples? Or perhaps secrets about the land itself that outsiders were never meant to uncover? Even more unsettling are the similarities between Amazonian giant legends and those from other parts of the world. From North America's Sasquatch to the giants of Polynesian myths, from biblical tales of the Nephilim to Greek stories of the Titans, cultures separated by oceans and centuries speak of enormous beings that once walked among ordinary humans. Could these Amazonian giants be part of that same mysterious puzzle? Were they real people, a lost race wiped out by time and disease? Or were they something else entirely, something science has yet to explain? Modern researchers have tried to solve the mystery using archaeology and genetics, searching for evidence of unusually tall ancient populations in South America. A few tribes in the region do have above average height, but nothing close to the towering figures described in legend. Some suggest the stories might have grown from rare encounters with isolated groups of unusually tall individuals, their size exaggerated over generations of retelling. Others believe massive bones unearthed in the past may have come from extinct megafauna like giant sloths or mastodons, misinterpreted as human remains by early explorers desperate for sensational stories. And yet, with so much of the Amazon still unexplored, it is hard to completely dismiss the possibility that something or someone unknown could be out there. Satellite images keep revealing hidden archaeological sites, lost cities swallowed by the jungle for centuries, entire regions barely touched by modern science. If advanced civilizations once thrived here, as new discoveries suggest, is it so impossible to imagine that a race of towering people might have existed alongside them, leaving behind only fragments of their story and tribal memory and the whispers of the rainforest? Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, where the sunlight struggles to break through the thick canopy, and the air hangs heavy with the sound of unseen creatures, there is a legend that has terrified generations of tribes. They speak of a spirit, a trickster, a shapeshifter known as the Chullachaqui. To the unprepared traveler, the jungle is already a place of danger. Poisonous plants, venomous snakes, and rivers hiding creatures big enough to swallow a man whole. But the Chullachaqui is said to be far worse because it doesn't just attack the body, it goes after your mind, your very sense of reality. The tribes describe it as a guardian of the forest, but not the friendly kind you'd hope for. It takes the form of someone you know, a friend, a family member, sometimes even yourself. Imagine walking along a jungle trail, far from home, when suddenly you hear a familiar voice calling your name. You turn, and there they are. A person you trust completely. You follow them deeper into the trees, believing you are safe, believing you are heading toward help, only to realize too late that what you're following isn't human at all. That is the curse of the Chullachaqui. It lures people away from their path, deeper and deeper into the labyrinth of the Amazon until they are lost forever. Some say it leads them into swamps where they vanish without a trace. Others say it tricks them into walking in circles for days, slowly draining their sanity until the jungle itself consumes them. And according to the elders, once the Chullachaqui sets its eyes on you, there is no escaping it. The stories vary from tribe to tribe, but the theme remains the same. It's a shapeshifter, a deceiver, and a master of disguise. Some tales claim you can recognize it by its feet, one human, the other twisted like that of a wild animal. In many versions, its name even means the one with the uneven foot. Travelers are told to check the footprints of anyone they meet in the jungle, because if one print is different, they are not dealing with a human being. What makes this legend so chilling is how personal it feels. Monsters and wild animals kill for food or defense, but the Chullachaqui seems to kill for amusement, for the thrill of deception. Villagers tell of hunters who followed the voices of their wives or children into the trees, never to be seen again. Entire search parties have vanished after following what they thought were their own missing friends calling for help. The jungle, they say, swallows those taken by the Chullachaqui, leaving behind no tracks, no screams, nothing at all. And then there are the stories of those who survive. They speak of wandering for days in circles, hearing laughter from the trees, glimpsing shadows that vanish when confronted. Some claim the Chullachaqui will sometimes return a person alive, but changed, quiet, hollow-eyed, as if part of their soul never made it back from the forest. To this day, tribes warn their children never to follow voices in the jungle, no matter how familiar they sound. Explorers and outsiders who hear these stories often dismiss them as superstition, as a way for tribes to explain the many people who disappear in the rainforest every year. After all, the Amazon is vast, unforgiving, and easy to get lost in. A single wrong turn can mean death. But even the most skeptical visitors admit there is something unsettling about how widespread and consistent the legend is. Tribes separated by hundreds of miles, speaking entirely different languages, all tell eerily similar tales of this shape-shifting figure. How can so many people share the same story if there is some kernel of truth behind it? Anthropologists suggest the Chullachaqui might be a symbolic way to warn people about the dangers of straying from familiar paths. Others believe it could be rooted in real encounters with hostile tribes or wild animals mistaken for human figures in the half-light of the jungle. And then there are those who point to stranger possibilities, hallucinations caused by poisonous plants, or even unexplained phenomena tied to the Amazon's long history of mystery and myth. What fascinates many researchers is the psychological power of the story. The jungle is already disorienting, filled with unknown sounds and movements just beyond the corner of your eye. Add in the fear of a supernatural being that can mimic your loved ones, and it becomes the perfect recipe for paranoia and dread. Travelers who venture too deep often describe the feeling of being watched, of hearing footsteps behind them when no one is there, of catching glimpses of figures vanishing into the undergrowth. Is it exhaustion, isolation? Or could there be something else at work, something the tribes have always known and outsiders refuse to believe? Some modern explorers who disappeared in the Amazon have fueled the legend even more. A few left behind journals describing strange experiences, hearing voices, seeing people who shouldn't have been there, feeling as though the forest itself was playing tricks on them. None of them used the name Chullachaqui, but the stories line up eerily well with the tales told around tribal fires for centuries. Among the many mysteries hidden beneath the endless green roof of the Amazon rainforest, few have stirred as much intrigue and controversy as the story of Akakor. The legend speaks of a lost tribe, a secret civilization deep in the jungle that was said to possess knowledge far beyond anything outsiders could imagine. Their name first reached the outside world through tales passed down by local tribes, stories of people who lived underground in vast cities carved out of stone, protected by the forest and untouched by time. But it wasn't until the late 20th century that the legend exploded into international attention, when a man claiming to be one of their own stepped forward with a story that would captivate journalists, adventurers, and even military officers. His name was Tatanka Nara, appearing seemingly out of nowhere in the 1970s. Tatanka described himself as a chief of the Gua Mongolia tribe, descendants of an ancient race that had once ruled the Amazon long before European colonization. According to him, his people lived in a network of underground cities, the greatest of which was Akakor, hidden somewhere in the heart of the rainforest. He spoke of temples, stone staircases descending deep into the earth, tunnels stretching for miles, and advanced knowledge inherited from mysterious visitors. Deep within the uncharted heart of the Amazon rainforest, hidden from modern eyes, lies the lost city of Akakor, a place of towering temples and advanced technology crafted by benevolent sky gods thousands of years before our current timeline began. Or does it? Let's explore. But first, the lost city of Akakor and giant anacondas of the Amazon, ancient mystery. In 1927, deep in the heart of the Amazon jungle, a mysterious indigenous leader named Tatanka Nara emerged, claiming to be the last descendant of the Ugha Mongolala, an ancient tribe from a legendary sunken city called Akakor. He told tales of a glorious past when his people lived in grand cities full of towering buildings made of stone and metal. And though their civilization was 10,000 years old, the memory of their sky gods remained vivid. For generations, the UGA Mongolala flourished until a cataclysmic flood sent their magnificent cities deep beneath the jungle canopy where they were swallowed by the encroaching wilderness. Only Tattafunka Nera and his small tribe survived, hiding in the upper branches of the tallest trees and living on fruits and nuts until, eventually, they adapted to life among the leaves and became one with the forest. But while sharing his knowledge of a lost world, he also warned of danger. Hidden beneath the jungle floor in the submerged ruins of Akakor lay terrifying creatures, giant anacondas that grew to immense size and ambushed anyone foolish enough to disturb their slumber. According to Tatanka Nara and his followers, these gigantic serpents were the guardians of Akakor, awakened by vibrations from any intruders and provoked by their presence. They slithered through the subterranean tunnels that once connected the megalithic buildings of the great city, ready to strike at any moment. When German journalist Karl Brugger heard the incredible story of Tatanka Nara, he decided to document the tale in a book published in 1976. He titled it The Chronicle of Akakor, a Forgotten Civilization in the Heart of the Amazon. But the contents were far from forgotten. Within its pages lay the key to understanding the origins of the South American continent and possibly even the dawn of humanity itself. Through Tattafunka Nara, Braga reconstructed the history of Akakor into three great ages, each more fantastical than the last. First came the Golden Age, a time when the land was dry and vast herds of animals roamed across the savannas. During this time, humans and dinosaurs lived side by side, but somehow the memory of this era had been erased from human history. Then came the Silver Age, when the ancestors of modern humans first made contact with the sky gods. These divine beings descended from the heavens and taught the primitive people how to live in harmony with nature. They showed them how to build great cities out of stone and metal and revealed secrets of science and technology that allowed them to thrive. But there was a catch. After a great battle between the sky gods and evil spirits, the world was flooded, destroying all trace of the civilization except for a few survivors who retreated to the treetops. That's where we find ourselves today. Yet there is still a third age to come when the wisdom of the ancients will be rediscovered and humanity can ascend to godlike status once more. But while traveling to find the lost city of Akakor, Bragg encountered many obstacles, both natural and man-made. There were dark disappearances that plagued anyone foolish enough to venture into the unexplored regions of the Amazon River. Some believed that strange tribes living deep in the jungle lured unsuspecting travelers off course and sacrificed them in elaborate rituals. Others claimed malevolent spirits lurked in the shadows, preying on the weak-willed or carrying them off in the dead of night. Whatever the truth, there seemed to be a concerted effort to keep outsiders away from the sacred heart of the jungle. As satellite imagery began emerging in the late 20th century, we started seeing massive geometric earthworks beneath the thick canopy, suggesting deforestation on a grand scale, something that could not have been accomplished by primitive stone tools alone. Could this be evidence of the advanced technology utilized by the sky gods of Akakor? If so, why has no archaeological evidence of this ancient civilization ever been uncovered? How could an entire society vanish without leaving a single artifact behind? Some dismissed Tatanka Nara's claims entirely, believing him to be a madman who concocted a fantasy world for attention. But he maintained his story was true and insisted giant anacondas still inhabited the underwater ruins of Akakor. Locals told of a terrifying creature called the Chullachaqui, a serpent so massive it could swallow a full-grown man without a second thought. According to legend, these anacondas were at least 60 feet long, with some growing to over 100 feet in length. Their bodies were wider than canoes and their jaws could crush the bones of their prey. Though these stories may sound like exaggerated tall tales, there are credible historical accounts that corroborate the existence of giant anacondas. In 1925, renowned explorer Percy Fawcett ventured deep into the Amazon in search of the source of the Rio Abunai. While exploring uncharted areas near the Brazilian-Peruvian border, he and his companions stumbled upon tracks left by a monstrous snake. After following the trail for several days, they finally spotted the massive serpent basking on a riverbank. Fawcett described it as having a neck wider than a cartwheel and scales that glistened like burnished gold. It disappeared into the water before he could get a clear look, but he collected shed skin from its lair, which indicated an animal over 100 feet in length. Unfortunately, the specimen was lost when Fawcett was killed on one of his subsequent expeditions. But he wasn't the only explorer to encounter such a beast. Carlos Spagazzini, a well-known scientist and traveler, saw similar giant snakes during his own travels in South America. He wrote, "One day we saw the skin of a gigantic snake measuring over 80 feet. It belonged to a kind of anaconda and must have belonged to a female since its dimensions were extraordinary." Even the famous Italian zoologist and explorer Carlo Emery came face to face with a gigantic serpent in the remote jungle markets. He later said, "The animal raised its head and opened its mouth as if to speak, then rushed towards us. The ground trembled under its belly. I had the impression that I was looking into the open mouth of hell, but giant mythical creatures are just one piece of the puzzle. What about the actual ruins of Akakor? Did such a technologically advanced civilization really exist in South America before the dawn of recorded history? Could they have created those massive geometric structures seen in satellite images?" According to Tancanera and others who believed his story, the answer is yes. However, they understood the danger of exposing the location of these ruins to outsiders. It is possible that the jungle has reclaimed parts of South America that were once highly populated and developed. But why would indigenous people living in the area actively work to prevent exploration of these sites? Is it possible that the real reason for their secrecy lies in the realm of myth and legend, with giant anacondas still lurking in the shadows waiting to strike? For centuries, the jungle has held its secrets close, keeping the mysteries of the past buried beneath its tangled roots and vines. As modern explorers venture further into the heart of the Amazon, what do you think they might discover? Are the stories of giant anacondas nothing more than myths to keep outsiders away from sacred lands? Or could there still be remnants of a highly advanced civilization hiding in plain sight? Only time and further exploration will reveal the truth. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of this mystery is the role indigenous beliefs play in shaping our understanding of the past. For many native tribes, stories of giant serpents and lost cities serve as a connection to their cultural heritage. These tales passed down through generations offer a glimpse into the spiritual and historical significance these places hold for local communities. It's crucial to approach such narratives with respect and sensitivity, recognizing that they may hold profound meaning for those who hold them dear. Furthermore, the quest to uncover the secrets of the past should not come at the expense of exploiting or harming the very cultures and environments it seeks to understand. We must tread lightly, ensuring that our pursuit of knowledge does not overshadow the importance of preserving cultural integrity and ecological balance. Striking this delicate balance will be key to unraveling the mysteries that lie ahead. So what do you think? Is there still a lost city of Akakor hidden in the Amazon jungle? Do giant anacondas lurk in its ruins waiting to be discovered? Or are these legends nothing more than folklore designed to keep treasure hunters and scientists away from sacred tribal lands? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Were so massive they had to be butchered on sight because they were impossible to move? These tales, passed down through generations, blur the line between folklore and eyewitness testimony. Are they exaggerated memories of real events or proof that the rivers of the Amazon still hide monsters from another age? Night in the Amazon is like stepping into another world. As the sun sinks below the horizon, the rainforest transforms into a living orchestra of sounds, the croak of frogs, the distant roar of jaguars, the constant hum of insects. The darkness here is absolute, a heavy blanket pressing down on the land, broken only by the glow of stars peeking through breaks in the canopy. But sometimes, according to countless witnesses across centuries, the darkness is split by something else. Strange, glowing lights that hover in the sky, dart between treetops, or silently follow boats drifting along blackwater rivers. Lights that move too fast, too precise, too intelligently to be anything natural. To the tribes who have lived here for generations, these lights are not new. They have always been part of the forest mysteries, older than memory itself. The indigenous people of the Amazon have many names for them. Some believe they are the eyes of spirits watching over sacred lands. Others see them as omens, warnings of disaster or death. Many tell stories of hunters chased by glowing orbs, lights that moved with purpose, weaving through trees as if alive. These tales are often told in hushed voices around fires, as if speaking too loudly might call the lights back. Some describe them as small spheres drifting through the night sky, changing colors from white to blue to an eerie green. Others insist they have seen massive, blinding lights descending toward the treetops before vanishing without a sound. When European explorers arrived centuries ago, they too reported seeing strange lights in the depths of the jungle. Missionaries in the 1600s wrote about floating stars appearing over rivers at night, moving against the wind, dipping low as if inspecting the land below before shooting upward and disappearing among the real stars above. Soldiers during early expeditions spoke of mysterious glows trailing their camps, always distant, always silent, as though something was observing them from the shadows. Modern reports make the phenomenon even more intriguing. In the 1970s and 80s, entire villages along the Amazon River described nights when the sky lit up with bizarre glowing objects. Fishermen told of being followed by hovering lights that moved whenever they moved, stopping whenever they stopped, almost like predators stalking prey. Some witnesses claim the lights emitted beams that swept across the ground as if searching for something. A few even reported physical effects, burns on their skin, temporary paralysis, sudden waves of heat or dizziness when the lights came too close. One of the most famous cases occurred in the Brazilian state of Para in 1977, when locals began reporting attacks by what they called chupa lights. Witnesses described glowing objects firing thin rays of light at people, leaving small burn marks and causing intense fatigue. The Brazilian Air Force took the report seriously enough to launch an official investigation called Operation Saucer. Declassified documents later revealed that military teams photographed and filmed numerous unexplained aerial phenomena over the Amazon during this time. Yet the final report claimed no definitive conclusions, leaving behind only questions, grainy images, and the unsettling testimony of those who lived through the events. Scientists have offered natural explanations: ball lightning, glowing swamp gas, reflections of distant storms. But those who have seen the lights themselves insist they are not so easily explained. Ball lightning does not chase boats for miles. Swamp gas does not hover silently.